What's going on, everybody? Howard Bender here, and this is Welcome to Fantasy Alarm TV's Three-Point Play, a potentially not-so-friendly debate between Fantasy Alarm analysts here. The trick is we got three topics. We each taking a side of it, me and James Grande here, as you can see. And on each side of the topic, you have to make three valid points in order to support your side of the argument. Once each one of us gives our side of the argument, well, then we get to kind of have it out with each other and poke holes in the other theories there. James, you ready to get things started here today?
Yes, sir, Howard. Let's get it.
All right, let's do it here. Topic number one. And James, this was one that you really wanted to cover here. We're talking about in the next 3 to 5 years, which player would you rather have for your keeper league? Would you rather have NL MVP Christian Yelich or power hitting Dodgers first baseman Cody Bellinger? So let's just kick it off right now, James. Which one you want?
So I'm actually going to go with the first baseman slash outfielder, Cody Bellinger, Howard. And I think that is a perfect place to start. Our first point is the multi-position eligibility for now that Bellinger possesses. Yes, I think we can all agree that one day Bellinger will end up strictly playing first base. As of now, he is eligible at multiple positions, which I think is a huge advantage, considering, it just opens up roster spots elsewhere. Secondly, he is very young. We have a guy who already has a 39 home run season under his belt, and he's 23 years old. And I'm not saying that Christian Yelich is old, because 27 is in the prime of his career, but we're talking about the next 3 to 5 years. Bellinger hasn't technically entered his prime. I mean, they talk about primes being 25 to 32. So if we get a better version of Bellinger going forward, I mean, sky's the limit, I would say. Point number 3, I think that Christian Yelich is everything as he is cooped up to be. And I really do buy into the MVP. I'm a little hesitant on the ground ball rate and why is it so high? And suddenly I know the launch angles and yada, yada, yada have gone up, but we went from a 20 home run hitter to a 36 home run hitter. And I know the balls are juiced, but that's only going to help Bellinger in the long run too, potentially a 50 home run guy. So I really like the younger power hitting Bellinger. Also, Howard, I would like to note, we always have known Miller Park to be a hitter's park and Dodger Stadium to be a pitcher's paradise. And Dodger Stadium for a very long time has been a pitcher's paradise. But this year, both Dodger Stadium and Miller Park rank in the top 10 in home runs. If that is a trend that continue, and it probably does have something to do with the juice ball, but if the juice ball is going to stay around for a while because, chicks dig the long ball, Howard, then who's to say Dodger Stadium doesn't trend more in the hitting direction, which only benefits Cody Bellinger more?
Are you sure that you're old enough to remember the Chicks Dig the Long Ball campaign for MLB? Are you sure about that?
I did shave my face today, so I may look younger than I appear.
All right. Well, three very valid points there on Cody Bellinger, but you know what? You're not convincing me at all. Not one bit. And I'll start off with number one here, the power hitting. Yeah, you know what? Bellinger does hit for power. That's great. That's beautiful. 40 home runs, maybe 50 home runs. Sure, why not? Christian Yelich, he's also hitting for power, my friend. 30 home run season last year. Juice Ball's going to help him out as well, as will Miller Park, especially when they have the nice rooftop closed there and that ball just sails out. But here you go, man. Yelich has actually got a higher isolated power mark right now than Cody Bellinger does, which means he's hitting for more extra base hits as well. And I'm totally digging on that. Now, is the drop-off in power that significant to go from Bellinger to Christian Yelich? I don't necessarily know if that's enough for me to do that. And as far as the age goes here, well, yeah, you know what? Your guy is definitely younger, but I can't really say that that's going to convince me too much because why? Point number 2, my friend, as Cody Bellinger gets older and he settles in more, into that RBI spot in the meat of the order there for the Dodgers. Guess what? They're going to have him stop stealing bases. Christian Yelich, my friend, is going to continue to set the table for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, I know Bellinger's got 7 steals as of right now. I know he can hit you. He can get you double-digit stolen bases, much in the cut of Paul Goldschmidt. However, as we've seen with Goldschmidt, the older he got, the more RBIs he accrued, the fewer times they wanted him to steal. So once he gets into that spot, and let's face it, the Dodgers in 3 to 5 years, they're probably going to have him settle into an RBI slot. I don't really see them moving him up. He doesn't have the on-base work to move him into the 2-hole like you've seen, like Mike Trout, for example. So Christian Yelich, he's not. You might get the drop off in the power, but he's going to make up for it with the stolen bases. Third and final point here I can make. How about some sustainability here right now? Cody Bellinger, absolutely raking with a 405 batting average on balls in play when his career average, the short career, but it's still nevertheless 321. The guy's a 260 hitter. He's playing out of his mind right now, and that's great. But I mean, still, that you're going to see the regression. You're going to see the batting average on balls in play come down. He's going to settle in that 260. Christian Yelich, baby. So now he's got 30 to 40 home runs because of the juiced ball. He's stealing more bases. Now he's also going to be hitting for a close to 300 average here, which is definitely sustainable. Right now, I'm looking at it right here. His batting average on balls in play, 305. Guess what his career average is, James? Guess. Just guess. Guess.
Higher than 305.
You're damn right it's higher than 305. It's 357. So, that's going to increase. Bellinger's is going to decrease. So, both hitting for power, more bases, more sustainability for Christian Yelich. He's also much more handsome. I'm just going to say that out there. That's like a bonus point for you right there. So give me Christian Yelich in an era where guys who hit for power and steal bases are really what you covet.
So I have 2 things to say, Howard. One is, since we're talking about Paul Goldschmidt and his decline in speed, and we are talking about the next 3 to 5 years, if you examine Goldschmidt's, peak years of when he was stealing bases, it was 27 to 29. Okay. And he had a 30 stolen base season, that's pretty crazy to see from a first baseman. But he had 18 or more for 3 straight years. Cody Bellinger, it full circled back to his age, is not anywhere close to the 29-year-old season. So if we do continue to see him run in his early to mid 20s, I think he could approach Goldschmidt numbers. I mean, he rated out with a 45 speed when he was first introduced to scouts, which isn't terrible. And he's flashing it with the 7 stolen bases, as you mentioned. So I think there is room for him in these early to mid 20s, just like we saw Goldschmidt, who is still running in his late 20s. Obviously, now crossing 30, he isn't running nearly at all. But, I think that's a positive in favor of Bellinger.
Well, let me ask you, how old was Paul Goldschmidt when he first jumped into the major leagues?
Older. He was older. I mean,
so there you go. You have to scale it appropriately, because at 23 years old, Cody Bellinger's already got 2 seasons under his belt.
Right.
You're talking mileage, baby. It's not just that, how long how old you are. It's how much mileage you've got on those legs of yours. So by the time that they move him out of the outfield and then into the infield to first base, and get him in that RBI slot, he's just not going to run as much. I mean, it's fact. He's just not going to run as much. Point Bender.
Well, let's talk about the second point then, because you bring up how Bellinger's going to be moved into a, quote, run-producing role for the Dodgers where he's not going to run as much. Who's to say the Brewers don't do the same for Christian Yelich as his age advances, especially considering guys behind him are going to move on. I mean, they don't have Mike Moustakas for a long-term contract. Ryan Braun is 100 years old. I mean, he's been suspended 9 times. We don't know when that next suspension is going to come, potentially. So you want to put maybe Yelich in a more protective role or protecting the rest of their lineup, especially when he is advancing in age, and he might not as run as much when he gets closer to 30. So I think we can see if we see Bellinger stick in that heart of the order and say, you know what, you're not going to run because you have someone hitting behind you that's worth it. I mean, if Milwaukee is going to go for it and continue to try to win the NL Central, you would think in years to come that the Brewers are also going to go out and sign protection for Yelich or someone in front of him saying, all right, now that you have someone hitting behind you, we don't want you to run as much because the opportunity for him to produce runs is so great.
All right, listen, very interesting point. I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw this out to FA Nation. All you people out there watching this show at home, do us a favor here. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who are you voting for? Are you voting for James? Are you voting for Howard? Tweet us at Fantasy Alarm, at _real_grande if you got 20 minutes to type in a Twitter handle. And then type in at RotoBuzzGuy as well. And do us a favor, man. Just chime in. Let us know who would you rather have, Cody Bellinger or Christian Yelich, next 3 to 5 years, and who wins this argument. Here we go. Topic number 2 for 3-point play. Taking a tight end early. Is this something that you want to do? Is this something you don't want to do? For years, fantasy pundits have proven or have talked about waiting on the position here. All the Rob Gronkowski truthers out there say, yes, I'm taking that guy in the first round. Everybody else is saying no. Where do you stand on it, James? I'll take this one first. Point number 1, yes, baby. You want to take a tight end early right now. You want to take Travis Kelce at the beginning of the second round, Zach Ertz, late second round, George Kittle, early to mid third round. And I'll tell you why you want to do it. Let me read you some numbers here. PPR scoring, Travis Kelce, 296.6. That ranked 14th amongst all running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. All those guys, 14th. Zach Ertz, 280.3. That's 16th. George Kittle, he ranked 23rd here with 256.7. Those numbers are significantly beyond any other tight end. Now, Eric Ebron did come close with 224, and that ranked him 30th, but we expect touchdown regression from him with the fact that Devin Funchess and Paris Campbell and a healthy Jack Doyle are now on the field for the Colts. So grabbing that tight end nice and early while everybody else is waiting on their tight ends, you're going to look at least a 50-point differential. Point number 2, and that is why you take them early, because you want the elites. You want the top guys. Only 8 wide receivers and 5 running backs scored more fantasy points than Kelce. 9 wideouts and 5 running backs scored more than Ertz, and then 12 wideouts and 8 running backs scored more than Kittle. That's a significant number here to pay attention to because, well, with split backfields, the problems that we've seen with Todd Gurley, Antonio Brown's in a new home, Odell Beckham's in a new home. Who knows what the coverage is going to be like on Juju Smith-Schuster? Tyreek Hill ain't playing another down in the NFL ever again here. So those are some big-time names, big-time players who you're now taking off the board, while Kelce, Ertz, and Kittle, all premium tight ends and all guys who are highly targeted players in their offensive systems, are all going to kind of move up that ladder. And then point number 3, all right, more shared backfield. So if you don't get an elite running back, get that elite tight end. Get that top scoring guy. You know, while everybody else is sitting there and they're like struggling with, well, do I take, David Montgomery, and I don't know what's going on with his situation. To me, you might as well lock in as many high-end guys as you possibly can. The trick to fantasy football is not to have to keep changing your lineup over and over again each week based on the matchups. Your trick to fantasy football and success is having those guys who you leave in, week out. I'm not going to sit here and play which tight end is going to score a touchdown today. Will it be Will Dissly or will it be Noah Fant? I don't care because I got Travis Kelce and I'm happy that I invested. Boom.
Okay, Howard. So let's talk about last year's draft specifically, okay? Last year's ADPs, shall we? The tight end 3 and George Kittle, right? You mentioned sort of 250 fantasy points. 12th round ADP of last year. Eric Ebron, tight end 4. 13th round ADP. Tight end 5, Jared Cook. Undrafted, tight end 6, Austin Hooper, 14th round. So as much as I do agree that there are the rare players like Travis Kelce, like Zach Ertz, that may have been consistent the last few years, there are a lot of flyers that we could take on guys in the tight end position, like a George Kittle of last year. Obviously, Kittle's not going to go in the 12th round. Obviously, Ebron broke out, and we don't expect it again. But there are 4 instances right there after Ertz and after Kelce. The next 4 top scoring tight ends were drafted in the 12th round or after. So, or not drafted at all. So I think there is a lot of merit to stacking up on your positional players or, other skill position players, whether it be your running backs or wide receivers, even draft a quarterback or 2. You draft 2, maybe to use one as bait, use leverage on another few teams in the league who haven't drafted a quarterback yet or a good quarterback at that. And you wait on your tight ends. I'm sure Travis Kelce is going to be the featured position player probably on the Chiefs, especially for fantasy football. He is going to see a lot more double coverages without Tyreek Hill. Without Kareem Hunt, they don't really have a ton of skill position players other than Kelce. Damian Williams is Damian Williams. He's not going to draw so many double coverages as Travis Kelce is. So I really think that there is a strategy to waiting. It all comes down to draft strategy. 4 of the top 6 guys last year were 12th round picks or later. And I personally enjoy that strategy more often than reaching for a tight end. I think there are question marks with a lot of backfields, a lot of receivers, receiving cores. But I'm still going to wait on my tight end and load up on the receivers. I still want to load up on the running backs, grab a couple quarterbacks, and create leverage elsewhere because everyone's looking for running backs. If you can grab a lot of running backs, again, it's another leverage play for the rest of the league. That's why I'm not taking a tight end in the early rounds.
Were there 3 points there?
Yes. Again,
are you sure?
Conjumbled. It was a long-winded 3 points. But there were 3. When during the playback, we'll go over the tape. We'll review the tape, Coach. And
we will. We definitely will. Let me counter your double covering Kelce. Who the hell's double covering Kelce? What are you gonna do? You gonna pull the safety in all the time? Because there's no way that a linebacker or even a slot corner is gonna be able to hang with Travis Kelce. And then once you bring in that safety to pinch the entire time, please, if you're sitting in a 3 or 4 wide receiver set and you got Travis Kelce there, you're going to have open guys downfield. You're going to have an open receiver. Demarcus Robinson. Ooh, boom, bum, 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 running it out to the touchdown there, man. There's no way you can double cover a tight end. Even Gronk didn't get double covered unless you were talking about inside the end zone and in the red zone inside the 10 there. So I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Wouldn't that impact Kelce inside the 10 if we are double covering him inside the 10 and Mahomes has to look elsewhere, limiting all the touchdowns that he has scored over the last couple seasons, right?
Well, all it's going to take, really, if he doesn't find Kelce open, then he's going to hit the other receivers or he's going to run it in or he's going to toss it over to Damian Williams. Maybe that's a strategy that defenses will employ early on. But when they just start getting burnt on a regular basis, they're going to be like, whoa, we can't double cover this guy the whole time. Otherwise, Mahomes is going to find a way out. I think that's really what it comes down to. And then I'll tell you, man, I love the other guy. Like Zach Ertz, I'm actually debating whether or not to put Kittle ahead of Ertz, only because you've got Dallas Goedert there and you got a bunch of wide receivers. But he's still going to get that red zone work. He's still going to see that massive production. He's still going to move the chains over there. But, I mean, these guys are all highly targeted players here. I got to tell you, man, listen, I would much rather, while everybody else is just fishing for scraps and being like, oh, well, who's going to be this year's George Kittle? Nobody, but who's going to be this year's George Kittle? While they're doing that, I'm like, give me this wide receiver, give me that wide receiver. And I'm grabbing all, I'm packing packing all these wideouts, and I'll throw darts at them. I mean, and it's not really darts because these are third and fourth tier guys while everybody else is fishing for the tight end. I got to tell you, man, I think the early pick is the way to go.
I'm not buying it, Howard.
All right, well, we're going to leave that one up to FA Nation again here. I don't know, man. I'm seeing you kind of cringing a little bit. The body language says defeated right now, but let's move on here. Let's move into something that's a little bit more your wheelhouse here, right? Can we talk about NBA? Can we talk about drafting these guys out of high school? I say you can't do it, man. This is ridiculous to me. And I know that you disagree with me.
I mean, I do, Howard, and there's no reason for, at least for a basketball purpose, when we're strictly talking about basketball, there is no purpose for guys like Zion Williamson, guys like Ja Morant, these freak athletes, these guys that in college systems are kind of watered down. Because when you watch the college basketball game and then you turn on the NBA, they're two completely different entities. College basketball runs sets out of timeouts. They run plays every time down the floor. They play 2-3 zone, which doesn't really show off anyone's true athleticism like they do when they are locking someone down man to man. I mean, locking someone down like a Giannis, being able to lock someone down looking in Kawhi's eyes while he's trying to go to the basket. I mean, sitting in the 2-3 zone, me, you, Matt, whoever, John, we could sit in the 2-3 zone all day, and we could play decent defense. They don't need college. Now, that's not to say everyone doesn't need college, because there are players that need development. For every one Zion Williamson, there's 100 not Zion Williamsons. I mean, that's why college basketball, that's why there's only 128 or 130 players in the NBA at a time. So I personally think, if you are good enough, you go to the pros. Now, there are obviously going to have to be stipulations in schooling and primarily in high schools. If you know your guy that is in your program or on your roster in your high school is going to go to the draft or is considering going to draft and is going talked about like he is in the draft, well, there needs to be a different procedure. They need to score a certain percentage on their SATs, a percentage on their ACT, do hold a certain grade point average in all their classes. And yes, there are non-eligibility lists to say, oh, well, he's not on this list. Well, up that a little bit. Make them show that they're at least mature enough to do that, where they'll go into the NBA. 1 year of college doesn't really mature anyone. Trust me, you go to college, 1 year isn't going to do anything except, you're probably going to drink and party more, if we're going to be quite honest with you. When you're going from high school to the NBA, you have a lot more mature adults around you. You have a lot of NBA players that could help guide you, more mentors. So I'm really on the NBA side in a couple of years when they are going to, free all of the high school players that are good enough to just take the leap of faith and go to the NBA. I'm on their side. I don't think that they should have to go to college.
Well, I strongly disagree with you. Strongly disagree. Maybe it's the age difference here between you and I, and the years of wisdom under the belt. You can't see the belt because the stomach's hanging over it, but I'm telling you, it's there, and there's a lot of wisdom underneath it. Let me say this. First of all, point number one, there's a huge, huge lack of maturity for any kid in high school. I don't care if he's good enough to play in the NBA or not. The kid is a jackass. I was a jackass in high school. You were probably a jackass. Everybody is a jackass in high school. We're too young. There's no life experience. You're not learning anything. All you're gonna do now. You have zero maturity, and we're gonna give you $5 million. Guys are gonna be blowing it on hookers and blow the entire time. They're gonna be partying up a storm, okay? And they're just gonna blow all of their money unless mom and dad step in with a nice financial advisor. But there's just this ridiculous, man. These kids are you can't give an immature kid $5 million and just say, okay, go ahead, here you go. Point number two, no education. Well, then what's going to happen when the dude blows out his knee in his rookie year? What's he going to do then? All right. Now you've given him $5 to $7 million a year. You've signed what, a 4-year contract as a rookie there?
Yep.
Okay. So you got your rookie deal. You got all your money. What, are you going to go back to school? Are you kidding me? No. There's no way that some 18-year-old kid's going to be like, well, all right, I guess my NBA career's over. Wow, let's see. I got $5 million here right now. Should I maybe just tour the world and have a good time? Or should I go back to school so I can be a productive member of society? I'm thinking it's the former. Definitely the former here. So you're running a massive risk of having not only a bunch of immature jackasses running around with millions of dollars, but you're going to have a bunch of immature jackasses who have zero education and zero future to contribute to society there. All they're going to do is feed the economy back. Well, I mean, very select places in the economy where they're going to be spending their money. Number three, all right, college is the minor league system for the NBA. Screw the G League. The G League's garbage, man. It's garbage. It doesn't mean anything. The minor league systems for the NBA and the NFL is college. These kids are getting paid in school, whether it's cash or trade or favors or anything else like that. But they're probably making more money than you and I are making right now combined just for playing basketball in college. So why not be able to sit there and get that education, hone your skills on the court? What? They don't play the exact formation, the exact scheme that they do in the NBA. I'm telling you, there are enough coaches out there who can take control of these kids and have them in there for a good solid 4 years. All right. Let them play for 4 years in college. Does that risk the injury? Yeah, of course it risks the injury. But you know what? At least they're enrolled in freaking college. So if they get hurt, they can pivot to something else. Go into sports management and be an agent, kid. Don't go out there and just be like, oh, well, I can't play basketball anymore. Well, good thing I got my money. So for me, no way, man. Just put them in school, college, 4 years. You know what? Give them 3 years in college. Then. If you don't even want to go the full 4 years for graduation, give them 3 years then. At least then the education has taken a hold of them, reasonably speaking.
How much, and I think that is a very weird subject because people will say, well,
majoring in communications is a weird subject.
Well, how much are they getting out of, people are going to argue, well, how much are they going to get out of high school knowing that, once they get to their senior year, well, then next step is the NBA draft. Well, if you do 3 or 4 years of college, it's essentially going to be the same thing. I mean, how many big schools that these kids will attend, right? How many schools have 400 student lectures or 500 student lectures that don't even require you to go? And they look at the sheet and they say, oh, Zion Williamson, he's in my class. Well, in 3 years, he's going to be a star. So let's have him skate through his college classes. It's the same principle as it would be in high school. Maybe there are more college professors that care. Maybe there are less college professors that care. Either way, there's always going to be in high school, whether it's high school or college, people that are just letting these players skate. So if you're telling me that it's better to go for 3 years of college, well, I'm going to say this, what the argument against coming out of high school, other than the immaturity, is that, well, you know what, their teachers are letting them skate by. Well, that's going to be a lot of the time because they're in college for 3 years. What else are they thinking about, Howard? They're thinking about the NBA. They're thinking about how in 2 years they're going to be making millions. And, you're right. Maybe an 18-year-old that blows out his knee with $5 million, maybe we start being smarter and maybe we strap a financial advisor to their hip and say, you know what, I'm going to be managing every dollar that you make. Maybe it's the same stipulation we could do with schooling. There are stipulations in life there are things that we can control and people can control. Parents of 18-year-olds can control. I know they become legal at 18 and, they're not going to listen to their parents anymore. But I don't think that's true with everybody. I think getting a financial advisor would be a great first step. 3 years of college is, the 1 year right now I think is too much. 3 years, mind blown.
Well, how about this? How about the NBA and the NCAA get together? I mean, listen, if you want to strap a financial advisor to their hip, why don't you just strap a guard to each player, or just like a specific guidance counselor who makes sure that the kid goes to class every day, that he's participating in his education there, that he's helping him plan his finances and stuff like that. Man, it might suck to have a babysitter, but if you want to play in the NBA, dude, you have to prove yourself to be a model citizen at the collegiate level. And you have to learn to behave yourself there. You have to learn to take your education seriously, take your financial planning seriously, take your future seriously. It's not all going to be putting a round ball into a hoop like that. You gotta plan for something else. So how about they just come together there and they put like a liaison? They pay a guy to watch it. You know what? The San Francisco Giants, okay, and the Boston Red Sox did the same thing with Pablo Sandoval. They paid a guy to stand outside his hotel room when he was on the road so that he couldn't order room service. How about that? You do that for the NBA and the NCAA, and you pay somebody to watch these high-end top prospects. You can evaluate the guys. You can talk about the guys who are probably going to be in the NBA draft. You know the talent levels there. So you're not talking about every collegiate athlete getting that. You're just talking about the guys who are prospective first-round draft choices in the NBA. Boom.
I mean, when you have a belt break in the middle of a game, you should have people standing outside your hotel room making sure Uber Eats and DoorDash aren't delivered to your rooms. But I don't disagree with that, Howard. I think that is a good stepping stone, but I think you could also do that kind of at the high school level, because you have guidance counselors already in the high school. Why not just hire another one who is a special advisor or a special counselor? So I think you could also take that where the collegiate level and the NBA come together. I think you could do it from the high school level and the NBA level as well.
All right. Well, what do you guys out there in FA Nation think? Should the NBA, they're going to go to it in 2022, I think it is, that they're going to be allowed to draft high school players directly into the NBA. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? James says, go ahead. I say, hell no. So do us a favor again. Tweet at Fantasy Alarm, at _real_grande, and at RotoBuzzGuy. Tell us what you think. That's going to do it for today's episode of 3 Point Play. For James Grande, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.